So, Wes, can you introduce yourself? Tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Hi, well, I'm WesWenk, Vice President of Wenk Insurance Agency in Highland Park, Illinois. We're a third-generation family insurance agency that handles really multiple lines of insurance, including aircraft insurance. We've even done libel and slander coverage for local radio personalities, and certainly the standard life, health, home, auto, etc., and been in business since 1932.
So it's safe to say that you are a full-service, full-spectrum kind of insurance agency. You'll pretty much write whatever people need. Does that also include medical insurance?
Yeah, it does. Medical insurance.
Wow, you cover the gamut. Would you say that you guys have been kind of early adopters? Have you waited till technology has kind of become more mature and then stepped in? What have you been like when it comes to technology?
We were probably like most. I would say we were pretty early in getting internet access and DSL, and pretty early on the email, etc. Taking more responsibility for this myself, I was beginning to feel that we may not have an immediate problem, but I loved the sound of the no-obligation consultation that CMIT would do to kind of tell you if anything's about to explode, how well things are running, what areas where you might need some help.
So tell me, what were some of the problems that his assessment unearthed?
Jerry and his assistant showed that the backup really hadn't been going through correctly, and that in a lot of cases there wasn't a backup happening. He showed us that, hey, how would you like to not only not worry about that, but say goodbye to the tapes and everything else, because they were starting to pile up in one of our ladies' homes, to have the stuff off-site. So that was a big relief, too, getting that.
Have you ever thought about what the actual costs would have been if you had had a major computer meltdown? Let's not talk about fire or something like that, but just a major computer disaster, virus gets in and erases hard drives or whatever, without backups. Have you thought about what it would do to your business?
Well, it's scary. There's no question about it, and that's one of the driving forces behind us dropping everything and saying, hey, let's really get this stuff looked at, because we knew we had a need, and we figured, okay, this looks like a guy we can trust. We like the idea of the franchise and the backing, and
well, if it did fail, what would you have done? I'm just wondering if we can put a dollar figure on what we think it might have cost you. I mean, first off, there's just the time of the staff time of reconstructing all that. Then there's the loss of business or loss of confidence in your company. It sounds to me like the kind of thing that really could destroy a company. I mean, is that too strong a comment?
No, it really could. The longer, and I'm sure we would have been looking for emergency help and, some quick solutions, and I'm sure they would have taken much longer than we, had even feared.
So if a disaster had occurred, it probably would have been, what, $100,000 price tag or maybe out of business?
Oh, it wouldn't have taken long for that.
Let's do a little bit more math to help those people. I mean, a lot of, how hard it is to get people to think about disasters before they happen, but spam is something people deal with every day. Now, how much spam were you dealing with, just you personally, every day in your office?
I was getting as many as 350 or 400 emails a day, and probably 90% were spam.
How long would it take you each day to go through those 350? Because you got to be careful. You don't want to miss anything from a client, so you can't just kind of cursory look at it. How long would it take you? How many minutes do you think?
It could be over an hour.
Well, let's do a little bit more math. You had 17 people in there. If you had to guess, obviously you were doing more. If you were doing 60 minutes, what do you think each of those 17 people each day were doing?
Probably
in terms
10 or 20 minutes, a lot of them.
Well, let's just say it's 10. Let's be conservative. So that'd be 170 minutes a day. And let's say yours is, instead of 60, let's cut it in half. So you're at about 200 minutes a day for your office. And if you figure about 250 work days a year times 200 minutes, then we've got a total of 50,000 minutes divided by 60 means that we've got 830 hours. And if you divide that times 40, then we're talking about 20 weeks. 20 weeks of work out of the year.
That's almost half a year.
And essentially what that means is if you've got 20 weeks and you've got really 52 weeks, so almost a half a year of one person. So that spam that you were getting was costing you one half of a person per year.
Boy, That's right. It's
So
amazing.
what do you think, if you had to average all of the salaries of everybody, what do you think the average salary and benefits might be for an individual employee in your company?
Let's just say 40,000.
So 40,000. So that spam was probably costing you, conservatively, half of it would be 20. So let's say $15,000 a year in costs for spam.
How about that? That's pretty good math.
You know, that's pretty conservative. We cut most of your estimates in half, and you know, the thing I think that's sneaky about spam is you just don't realize it, because it happens a little bit at a time.
Right. You
know?
figure each one's just one click,
Right,
but that's
right.
lots of clicks.
And that's just the hours.
That's a very good point. And while it has improved greatly, it's something that we should have done a long time ago.
Right. But I have a feeling that, you know, this is a problem that only gets worse, and so companies just kind of deal with it until it gets to be, as you said, gets to be awful. And of course, the other problem is it's not just the time you spent getting it out; it's also the ones you miss. And guess who the people are that you miss?
Always the most important ones.
The most important, and there are two kinds. One is your client that's really unhappy, and the other is a prospect who's saying, "I want to buy," but you don't recognize the email address.
Exactly.
And you don't recognize what they put in the header because it's not something you sent out. So the out-of-pocket expense right away could be $15,000, $20,000 for a company your size, but the opportunity cost could dwarf that, right?
Well, that's right. And, you know, you do need to do that math sometimes just to realize the impact.
Right. What do you think the positive impact overall has been on your business, on, I don't know, productivity, peace of mind, bottom line, anything that you would say about this work with CMIT and Jerry?
Well, we get so busy around here that a lot of times no news is good news. I'm not getting people running in saying, hey, this broke down, there's no email, the DSL's not working, this isn't working. I'm getting a lot fewer complaints about that, about spam. Everybody's noticed that there's much less spam, that we haven't had our email breaking down the way it used to. We know where to go for things. Everybody in the office has gotten to know Jerry and Pat. I think everybody knows them by name now, and it is almost as if he works here in a lot of cases.
So what would you say to any other business person that's out there and they're worried about their computers at all? What would you recommend to them?
I would say check out CMIT and that free consultation, because if you're like most businesses that are busy and hustling around and responding in all different directions, you may have problems you haven't even dreamed of, and maybe things are better than you thought, but that's a great way to know without any obligation or risking anything up front. And I think they'll give you an honest count. I think if everything was in perfect shape, they would tell you. If you really don't think you know, or you're in the dark about just, you know, the status of things, that's a great way to find out where you really are. We're very happy with the service and the communication, and it's definitely one less thing to worry about. We have so many things to respond to that we're quietly realizing that we have more time to do that, and we're not constantly sounding the alarm like we were before. So it's kind of no news is good news, and there's a lot less news than there used to be.